Thank you. The next talk is by Jeremy Singer from Glasgow on sealed by library call.
Will you throw things at me next time?
I will tell you when you've got 5 minutes.
Yes. Morning, everybody. I'd like to start with a limerick. I hope that's okay. There once was a fine Cambridge fellow who convinced ARM to build the Morello. Its semantics are grounded, and its buffers are bounded. Oh, thank you. Yes. Now you'll have to believe when I say ChatGPT didn't write that, but maybe it would be better if it had it done. Good. So I want to talk to you about library calls, which we're going to use for sealing capabilities. And my assertion to you is that memory allocators need to track capability seal operations. So here we go. Capability-aware applications require richer memory allocator interfaces that include the facility of informing the allocator when we are sealing capabilities. So a little bit about the work we've been doing at Glasgow. Yes, I'm from Glasgow University, sorry I should have said that. A little bit about the work we've been doing. We've been porting the BOEM garbage collector to CHERI, and also the MicroPython interpreter, which comes with a built-in simple mark sweep garbage collector as well. And along with colleagues from King's, hello Laurie, we've been looking at memory allocators in CHERI and analysing their properties. So a lot to do with memory allocation. And throughout all of that, I have become increasingly aware that user applications sitting on top of the MicroPython interpreter or interfacing with the secure memory allocators are capability oblivious. Yeah, so all we do really is we port, existing C applications or other kind of user applications to CHERI, and we don't really do too much to make them capability aware, perhaps. I mean, we might give them bounded buffers and so on, but a little more than that. Everything else happens in the language runtime. So the language runtime is very much capability aware, and we leverage the security properties of capabilities to make the things on top of the language runtime implicitly secure. But our language runtimes only expect to handle capabilities they have created or acquired from mmap or wherever you get capabilities from. Okay, so if user applications were to become capability aware and we were to throw around sealed capabilities in our user applications, things might break. First of all, what is a sealed capability? So I abstracted this from the Cambridge Technical Report. This is version 9, so I think it's the most recent one. Yes, good. Sealed capabilities. Here we go. Capability sealing allows capabilities to be marked as immutable. Can't change them. Non-dereferenceable. Can't indirect through them. Causing the tag to be cleared if attempts are made to modify them, and harder exceptionally thrown if we modify, dereference, or jump to them. Okay, so a sealed capability is kind of something that's very much hardened and can't be interfered with unless you're allowed to interfere with it because you have the thing that sealed it, the key to unlock it, perhaps. So C-seal is the abstract, this is the RISC-V instruction for sealing capability, and you seal a capability with a sealing capability. So the thing you want to be sealed has to be sealed with another capability, and the thing you get out is the sealed capability, which is immutable and undereferenceable. And then you can unseal your capability later if you do want to do some mutation or some dereferencing. You need to unseal it with the capability that you sealed it with to start with. Okay, so far so good. So why might you seal a capability in user code? So we've spoken a little bit today about sealing and sentries and so on in the context of compartmentalization and jumping into new discrete regions of code. But in your application, you might want to somehow restrict your data so that perhaps parts of a large data structure can only be modified by regions of your code that have permissions to modify it and so on. You might want to protect secret data perhaps, or I got this from your technical report as well, represent delegated permission for, say, file descriptors or something. So you can't kind of manufacture or forge things that you shouldn't. Okay, so it might be possible to have capabilities, sealed capabilities in your user applications. This is a commercial break. If you want to know about capabilities, you need to go to capabilitiesforcoders.com. I wanted to call this website Capabilities for Dummies, but I wasn't allowed to. You're not dummies, of course, but you know, the average kind of person on the street might want to know about capabilities. So capabilitiesforcoders.com. And if you type in, how do I seal a capability, I think this page comes up first, unless I'm just in a little Google bubble. Anyway, maybe I am. Anyway, there's lots of information there about sealing the capability, and here's our code here, I think. So yes, we get the system sealer, which is some kind of magic sealing capability, and then we call the CHERI seal intrinsic to seal our capability, and then we can't do anything with it until we unseal it down here. So this is code from the Capabilities for Coders site here. Right, so now we want to think about memory. So what happens with a sealed user capability when we try to do garbage collection? And sadly, my beautiful animation didn't export from PowerPoint to PDF. But never mind, I shall kind of walk you through it. So pretend none of these things are up here. We've just got our little linked list here. Okay? And at some point in the linked list that we have, I seal one of the pointers, which means, of course, unless I can unseal that pointer, I can't traverse beyond that point. Okay, garbage collection time happens. I gather my root set of pointers and traverse from the root set, and I find that this is reachable, this region of memory here, so I mark it. This is a mark sweep collector. I follow pointers to more reachable memory and mark that, and then I come to a seal capability. So at the moment, I think our garbage collector would crash. But probably the best we could do is say, well, let's stop tracing here, perhaps. But if we do that, if there are no further pointers to things, unsealed capabilities, sorry, to things beyond that point in the linked list, then, well, when we sweep through memory and throw away things that aren't marked, oh dear, we lose the tail of our linked list. Dangling pointers, no! Interestingly, the opposite thing sort of happens with explicit memory management. So if you are directly freeing rather than using a garbage collector, then when you call free on your linked list, I'm assuming I've written some nice free code here, then I'll throw that away after traversing this pointer, throw that away, and then I get here, and now I can't follow that. And now what happens is, this gets neatly disposed of, but this stuff here hangs around forever, because I can't free it, so I get a space leak in this case. So dangling pointers with garbage collectors and space leaks with freeze. This isn't good. So obviously, memory management code needs to be able to traverse reference graphs that include these sealed capabilities, capabilities that have been sealed by our user applications. So I think this means our memory management code needs to be aware of application sealing activity and to be able to unseal application sealed capabilities efficiently when required, without compromising integrity. So CHERI seal at the moment is a kind of built-in intrinsic which just translates directly into the appropriate ASM code, but maybe we need to enrich this somehow or expand this so we also somehow record the sealing capability or the capability before it's sealed into some kind of lookup tables. The memory manager can reference it in the future. This sounds a bit dodgy. Maybe the memory manager needs to register some kind of callback with the sealing so that when a sealing takes place in the application code, the memory manager gets informed and can do the appropriate tracking maneuver. Maybe we need a lookup table inside the memory manager code that allows us to hash on our sealed capability perhaps and find out how to unseal it, something like that. If we do that kind of thing, then we'll end up with our unsealed capabilities in a table somewhere, but these are weak references for the garbage collector because they shouldn't keep that memory alive. That memory should only be alive if application code is pointing to it, whether that's sealed or unsealed. Application data, sorry, is pointing to it. Okay, and this lookup table is going to grow, so you can imagine some kind of terrible denial of service attack where I just say seal, 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 and my table grows, 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 and eventually I kind of run out of space. So we need to prune entries from this table when sealed capability is no longer relevant, perhaps hooking into some kind of revocation mechanism. And we'll need to make sure this table is only accessible to the privileged memory manager code, and we don't kind of leak these unsealed capabilities to other parts of the application where it's supposed to be squirreled away. Okay, this is my last slide, actually. So our next step is to come up with a proof of concept implementation for this. And to do this, I think we really want some applications that do interesting sealing things. We don't really have any at the moment. Do you, Robert? Does anybody have any that we could use? We should talk about this, perhaps. Yes, exactly. That's the thing. So I think we need some kind of benchmark set of interesting applications with valid use cases for sealing. You should be live, yes, now.
Did you explain it?
Yeah, I don't think this is an interruption so much as like an interaction.
Good.
Yes, I mean, language runtimes, compartmentalization runtimes, it all seem to be things that do things like that. And some of them do malloc, the things that they might want to seal.
Yeah.
But often they're memory mapping things. Yeah. We should look at, I think we don't understand what V8 will eventually do. But we do kind of have ideas about it, so maybe we're having like a brainstorming chat about it.
Okay, thank you.
But V8 has its own allocator, of course, which it uses for code and things, which is different, but also garbage collected. So,
yes, good. And since we're kind of under the auspices of POCL, I wonder if I could issue a plea for appropriate people to think about whether this is something that needs to be formally verified, because that's not really my pigeon. Good, thank you.
We have a few minutes for questions. Anybody? Brian.
Hello, Brian.
So one thing you might do with an allocator, you might also allocate the types for sealing from the allocator itself, and then have the garbage collector actually collect them. Then it'll naturally have all of the types that it needs. Is that a possibility, or am I talking nonsense?
So you're saying that the allocator can somehow manage the types that are used in the sealing operation. Yeah, and sometimes there's a very limited number of these types that you can dispense. So you're saying that perhaps if the allocator is looking after the sealing, then it can shepherd these types appropriately to use the resources most efficiently. Thanks, that's a nice point. I hadn't thought about that. Yes.
I think there was an interesting question kind of like about nestability and multiple allocators and all that stuff, because of course we tend, within one address space, we imagine that there are different authorities using different sealing for different kinds of things. And it might be that the kernel has some of the sealing types and maybe, the memory allocator and the TCP or the compartmentalization. How do these things compose, especially if you have more than one memory allocator? Just like, yeah.
Yes,
but we're beginning to have worked examples of software that does some of those things. So we could have a much more concrete discussion than we could have a year ago.
Okay, thanks. That would be interesting.
So the sealing capabilities themselves operate under a region and capability system. So it's possible to have a master sealer and unsealer and subdivide it to give out to clients and nesting.
You could have kind of a hierarchy of.
Yes. Well, you already do between the operating system and the runtime.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. Are all your issues not suggesting to move the memory manager to the kernel?
Okay. So, should our memory manager remain a user space library, or do we actually need to give it more authority, more privilege? Yes. I don't know. Yes. Thank you.
So if the seal capability is a pointer that's been disguised, it's basically an obfuscated pointer, which
Yeah.
always create problems
Yeah.
to GCs. But can we use any of the mechanisms people have sometimes managed to worm around for obfuscation of pointers? Sometimes there's
Yeah.
registration mechanisms.
You're going to talk to me about XORing pointers for doubly linked lists.
It's a terrible idea, but people do it.
Yes.
We've written in CHERI
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah. Yes, I know. So you can somehow have a superposition of two pointers in one word if you XOR them together, and you can somehow extract each one out. Yes. So I don't think Bone likes that either. So garbage collectors do break with that too. In what other ways do people obfuscate pointers, Laurie?
Bit tagging.
Oh right, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
Although if you're using like the ARM architecture, there are features to help you figure out what to do about that and do it efficiently. On the kernel thing, I mean, it's interesting. So for the revocation work, we did end up concluding that the revocation work needed support from the kernel, both for efficiency reasons, but also for security reasons, which was, one of the ways we imagine, or in fact are using sealed capabilities, is to allow mutually distrusting processes to share the same address space. And so we need revocation properties to span multiple processes, which might have their own heap allocators. So their revocation is a address space wide function and needed to be in the kernel for that. But garbage collection strikes me as far more interesting than the revocation work we're doing. And so maybe there's not such a neat split between allocation policy and garbage collection behavior. Worth talking about sometime.
Thank you.
Is that another question back at the back? Yeah, come
Yeah, just regarding your comment about formal verification, just a comment that there is actually a version of CHERI that supports sealed capabilities. So I don't know what exactly you have in mind, but
Let's talk at lunchtime. Yes, please. Yes, thanks. That's very nice.
Okay, so for everyone wanting to talk to Jeremy now, form a queue at lunchtime. Elias. Thanks again, Jeremy.